In this video, I'm going to show you guys how to replace a clutch on a 2005 Saturn Ion. In my previous video, which was kind of obnoxiously long, I took the transmission out. So if you guys need to see how to do that, or maybe certain parts of it, go ahead and take a look. Alright, so your clutch kit, I got mine from LUK. Good company. If you actually do your research, the original OEM clutch is actually made by LUK. So basically you're buying the OEM clutch at not the stupid 3,000% markup at the dealer. Not obviously it's not 3,000%, but you know what I'm saying. So your kit needs to come with the alignment tool and the throwout bearing. It's a hydraulic one. Obviously, you're gonna need your clutch disc and your pressure plate. All right, so first let's take the clutch off of the engine. So, I actually haven't checked what size bolts they are yet, but it looks to me like they might be 10mm bolts. Now, I don't accept any responsibility for damage done to your vehicle. There's supposed to be a tool that you use when installing your new clutch, pressure plate I mean. Basically what you do is you put the clutch in centered, you put your pressure plate on, and you put this tool on that's supposed to evenly push even pressure on the disc, on the pressure plate. And then you put 3 bolts in, take that tool off, put the remaining 3 bolts in because there's 6 bolts. And then it's supposed to be on evenly. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go easy, star pattern, quarter turn at a time, whatever I have to do. That tool's pretty expensive. So, I guess first, take the throwout bearing off. And look, this is how you know your throwout bearing is bad. You hear that? Should not sound like that. So anyway, turn this around. The throwout bearing is held on by 4. There's 3 right here and 1 right there. 4 T30 bolts. So there's 1 here, 1 here, 1 on the bottom side, and then there's 1 right here as well. Take those out. The whole thing will just slide away, and then we'll put the new one on and I guess compare them and then put the new ones on. Alright, they look about the same. So I guess I'll make sure that the rest of the kit matches before I put this one on. But so next I'll go ahead and take that pressure plate off so we can get the clutch out of there. Alright, so this is comparing the 2 clutch discs. This is the old one. This is the new one. Try to avoid touching the new clutch on the friction part of it with dirty hands. Well, supposedly you're not supposed to do it with clean hands either. I would wear gloves if I were you. They look the same. On the old one, by looking at it, I thought that bluish purple color on the metal there, I thought that was from it getting hot. But looking at the new one, that's how all of it is. So that one doesn't look like it's hot, but anyway, I guess that's just the way they're manufactured. I was thinking that clutch got hot. If you look on this clutch, I actually wore it down to the rivets. If you look, that rivet's actually kind of worn off on the top edge. Same with that one. Yeah, this side's pretty bad actually. It's actually starting to fall apart. This side, I didn't quite get to the rivets yet, but it was getting there. Almost. This one's pretty much gone. My only concern with the new one is, if you look, there's not really that much room between the top of the friction disc and the rivet. So there's not really that much life to it, I don't think. But I'm going to go ahead and put it together. That's comparing those 2 things. They're the same size. Go ahead and pick it up. This. They're the same, except for you could actually see how much worn down the other one is. They are the same size. The splines are the same. So I'm going to go ahead and compare the pressure plate now. Now comparing the old pressure plate with the new pressure plate. I left this one out in the rain. I did clean the surface the best I could just to kind of show you what the wear on the pressure plate looked like, because the flywheel had quite a bit of wear to it. So I was thinking that, you know, this side actually, the clutch disc actually had a lot more wear on the pressure plate side than the flywheel side. But so basically, if you see those little brown spots, that's actually the rust from being left out in the rain. But this part right here, that's actually a kind of a scorch burn mark from the flywheel, or a groove left behind from the rivets. That's not good. If you flip it over, you look at the springs. This is a very important factor for the new one as well. On the new one, there will be an X or some kind of line or something showing you that it's lined up. If you look at the X, it's actually lined up from the way it left the factory. That's good. This is a self-adjusting clutch. It's very important that it's these springs are all the way collapsed. That way it gets that self-adjusting mechanism going. This one, on the other hand, is the old one. It's all the way out. It's done. The clutch was completely out. Those springs actually adjust the amount of tension that these forks put on it. If you look at comparison here, old one, they don't stick out at all. The new one, you can see them. So as the clutch wears down, these will actually get closer. So your pedal automatically adjusts for you, rather than having, that's actually a good thing about the hydraulic, because the cable system, you would actually either have to adjust it yourself or just reinstall a new clutch. So now that we've compared these, and they're the same size, and that we see that these are lined up, we're ready to install it. Like I said, again, you want to make sure you clean this side of the friction disc, the pressure plate, so we can get a nice clean surface to make sure our clutch isn't going to slip. Alright, the pressure plate is held on by 6 10mm bolts. There's 6 of those. You're going to have to hold the engine from turning somehow while breaking loose these bolts. You can use like a pry bar, somehow get it where you jam it between the teeth and somewhere else. It's actually, I don't know, I don't like that. I wouldn't do that actually. Not with this one. If it fits in the teeth good enough, it'll be fine, but anyway, you gotta find some way to keep it from turning and break loose those bolts. I got the 6 bolts out. I didn't actually have to leverage anything. I'm holding this here for a second. Did not have to leverage anything in the flywheel. I just put my ratchet on those bolts and hit it really hard with my palm, and they actually weren't very tight. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and hold my finger in here holding the clutch disc when I take this off. Keep in mind, it's a pretty heavy assembly. Oh great, I don't think that flywheel's good. You're not supposed to resurface them on this vehicle for some reason. That's just what it says in the manual. But anyway, you're supposed to buy a new one. Oh yeah, this clutch is gone. It's gone. The look at that, that's gone. This is gone. Obviously, you never reuse this anyway, but you wouldn't want to. If you absolutely had to, you wouldn't want to. Alright, so let's go compare them with the new one. I'm going to change gloves real quick, and I'll be right back. Alright, we need to get this flywheel off. I'm going to either have it resurfaced or replaced, I might just end up buying a new one, because I read somewhere that you should not have it resurfaced on this vehicle. So I'm gonna do more research. I'll let you guys know what my end result is on that. Obviously you can see the heat marks on there, and I don't think that's a good thing to have on there. Basically, you want, if there's any warpage on that whatsoever and you put a new clutch disc in there, it's going to cause it to wear out more. It's going to cause it to wear out faster. You don't want that. If you're going through all this trouble, you put your money out on the clutch. My clutch kit was about $225. This flywheel I can get from rockauto.com, shipped to the home for about $83. So if I spent that much money on the clutch disc kit, might as well go ahead and have that replaced. I've called around, found a place that will resurface it for $35. I might go ahead and do that if they say it's recommended for your vehicle. Somewhere I said it's not recommended for this vehicle, but so you're gonna want an impact gun, and you're gonna want a good air compressor. Problem here is this isn't a good air compressor. This isn't the best air impact wrench you can get. It's decent. I had to buy one of these because I can't find my other one. So anyway, I'll get right back to you on that one. My air compressor has to remain on 100% of the time because it does not hold pressure for some reason. You want your pressure to be, that my impact gun that I got says it needs to have at least, I think it says at least 90 PSI. I didn't think my tank goes to that, but on the tank it says max of 100 PSI. There's gauges on there I'm going to show you. One is for tank pressure and one is for output pressure. On my tank, it's about the same pressure for both when you're looking at it. Once I go over there to show you, you're not going to be able to hear me talking, so you'll have to just look at them, and the gauges are kind of hard to read, so I'm sorry about that. It's coming. Alright, so I got all the bolts loose except for this one and this one. I'm gonna need to rebuild pressure, and I need my air compressor to build up pressure again. I used too much of the air, so I need to let it build up back to above 100 PSI before I trying it again. Alright, go ahead and slide it off. It's gonna be pretty heavy. As you can see, pretty heavy. I got my flywheel back from the machine shop. As you can see, I got kind of smudged up with some dirty hands there, but you don't want to do that. I'm going to clean it off with brake cleaner before I put it back together. Also do that with the pressure plate as well. I'm going to do that. Like I said before, I forgot to mark my flywheel before taking it off. Now, there's no dowel. There's no dowel on the crankshaft where it can only go on one way. The bolts are spaced the same, so you can literally put it on any way. So I'm assuming that since there's no weights on it, there's no drill holes to remove weight, that it doesn't matter which way you put it back on. But I would suggest marking it before removing it. Anyway, the directions say to do 2 passes with torque. The first pass needs to be 39 foot-pounds. Then after you do that, you do 25 degrees. So you need one of those. I forget exactly what they're called, but you put it on your torque wrench and it will tell you how many degrees you turned it. I'm not going to do that. I looked up the S series engine, and it's they torqued their flywheel down to 59 foot-pounds. So I'm going to go ahead and go to about 60 foot-pounds and call it good. I wouldn't go any more than 70 foot-pounds. But as long as you're not going to snap your bolt off, you should be fine. So just go like finger tight or just kind of snug. You don't want it too tight. Okay, that's snug. Go directly across. And when you torque down, you go on a star pattern. So you'd go, I'll use my finger so you can see. You do this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. Doesn't really matter as long as you go directly across each time. You could go to this one from here, you can go here, or you could go here. Doesn't matter as long as you do this, and then you go straight across, and then you go to the next cross you can. And if you go here, you need to go here. You can't just go here. You gotta try to distance it out to make it even. But just snug them up. Doesn't really matter what order. I'm gonna snug them up and then I'll torque them down. I'll be right back. To torque down the flywheel bolts, we need to hold the engine from turning. You can do this in various different ways. You can use a screwdriver or a crowbar or some kind of bracket to grab the teeth of the flywheel and have it jam up against the engine or motor mount or frame or something. I went ahead and took a socket with a long breaker bar, put it on there, and it's tight because I actually ended up turning the flywheel over in the direction it needs to be turning. And it's perfect because that breaker bar hits the frame basically right where it attaches to the subframe. The subframe bolt hole is right here. Focus. So I don't think that's gonna fall off. Also, this is straight. You want that on straight. You can do it however you want, but I'm gonna go ahead and set it to 40 and do one pass, and then set it to about 60 or 65 and do another pass. So I already have it set to 40. So go ahead and go in a star pattern. All right. You can kind of I'll try to stay out of the way so you can see the pattern I go in. So I'm gonna go to the top left one. That's it. I'm gonna go directly across to about 5 o'clock. That's done. Then I'm gonna go to about 10 o'clock. Okay. Then I'm gonna go here to about 3 o'clock. Then I'm going to go to about 7 o'clock. Then I'm going to go to about 1 o'clock. Okay. That's it for the 40. What was the S series? S series was at 59. So I'll go ahead and go to 60. So go ahead and start at 11 o'clock. Go to 5 o'clock. Go to about 9 o'clock. Go to 3 o'clock. 7 o'clock. And then 1 o'clock. It's pretty tight. I wouldn't think you should go any more than that. Once you have this put together, we need to go to the transmission and replace the throwout bearing, and that's in the garage. So I'll go ahead and head to the garage. And installing the new throwout bearing is just as easy as taking it off. Put it on the shaft, slide it on, and kind of wiggle it here until it goes in. Line up that top bolt back there. Go ahead and screw in a screw finger tight in that one. So you can know that you got it lined up. And then once you get that in there, these ones, okay, it's not quite right. There we go. You got to wiggle it on there.
Go ahead and put a bolt in there, finger tight.
I'm having a hard time. Okay, you gotta kind of lift up on it. Sorry about the low lighting, guys. I'm in such a hurry to get this done. I'm gonna do it in the dark if I have to. Okay, this one's almost in. Anyway, do that and I'll come back and tell you the torque specs. If I cannot find the torque specs, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the ratchet and I'm just going to do it as tight as I can, just with my wrist only, not, and from the very top, so the end of the ratchet, like where you would control the direction it turns, is right here, my thumb here, and just turn it as hard as I can with my forearm. You don't want to do anything more than that. You don't want to break it. I'll be right back. Alright, so I don't think these need to be that tight, so what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to hold the ratchet like this, and I'm going to just turn as much as I can with my forearm. That should be all you need. Once I get this on, I'm going to go ahead and go to the car and line up the clutch disc and put the pressure plate on. Alright, first thing you want to do is you want to take your alignment tool and you want to make sure it fits into the crankshaft. That's not going to do me any good. Maybe a 1/4 of an inch. That's not going to help me whatsoever. I'm back. Since my tool wasn't fitting, I wrapped duct tape around it. Hopefully that'll work. Before putting the clutch back on, we do need to clean the flywheel and pressure plate with some good old brake cleaner. Spray that down. You can use either some paper towels or a microfiber cloth. The good thing about brake cleaner is it dries really quickly, so by the time you clean your pressure plate, this will be dry. And you don't want to touch this after you clean it. You don't want to touch it with your greasy, dirty hands. Now for the pressure plate, same process. Take some paper towels, brake cleaner. See that? You don't want that on your pressure plate. Make sure that the side that sticks out is away from the flywheel. Also, I guess I think some of these say flywheel side. Yeah, it does say flywheel side. So it will say flywheel side on the flywheel side. So go ahead and put it in the hole. And if you look there, that's pretty close to there's more distance on this side. Okay, so I put it in there, and off the camera I did give the tool a good twist. Okay. Get some of these bolts started. Got 2 out of 6. Alright, once I get the bolts finger tight, I'll go ahead and record again. Okay, so I got that on. Looks pretty center, actually. It's not on completely, I just snugged up the bolts, so the bolts are just now touching the pressure plate. You need to do this in a very evenly way, because supposedly you can bend your pressure plate if you don't. Also, now that you have it on the vehicle, make sure that your line, your dot, your X, whatever method they use to mark it, is still lined up. If you look at this one, it still looks lined up. So I'm gonna go ahead and torque them down in just a second. The torque specs for the pressure plate is 22 foot-pounds. So go ahead and set your torque wrench to 22 foot-pounds. And what I would suggest doing is turn like a quarter of a turn each bolt in a star pattern. So start with the top one and go ahead and that's about a quarter of a turn. Then go directly across. That's about a quarter of a turn. And then go to one of the second across bolts. That's about a quarter of a turn. Go across from that. That's about a quarter of a turn. Go across from that. That's about a quarter of a turn. And across from that. That's about a quarter of a turn, maybe. The whole thing at this point should not be able to move. Now, if you go too uneven with this, you can supposedly you can bend your pressure plate, even though it seems pretty thick and heavy to me. Supposedly you can bend it. So there's really the only thing holding the clutch disc in right now is the alignment tool still. We're gonna go ahead and do it again. I wish I had a smaller wrench. I actually have my tool set to 10 foot-pounds just for the moment being, until I can get it up there to where it's actually torquing. Once I get everything to 10 foot-pounds, then I'm going to increase it then, but I kind of want to make sure I get it even. I just wanted to show you guys the gap between the flywheel and pressure plate still. So you got pretty long ways to go, so I'm actually going to just use my smaller ratchet, just use a quarter of a turn each bolt at a time. You can actually kind of gauge it, maybe even use like a feeler gauge or something to measure, make sure you're putting it on evenly. Right now it looks pretty even, so I'm just going to do quarter of a turn with a ratchet until they get snug, and then I'm going to use my torque wrench. I'm getting there. It does take a little while. It's not snug yet. There's still a gap. Even though it doesn't really look like it, there's still a gap. You can tell easier at the pressure, at the flywheel. Anyway, so I'm almost done snugging them up. So, snugged them up. They actually did snug up evenly. Like, I went in the same pattern I always was. This one first, it snugged up. Went to this one, it snugged up. Went to this one, it snugged up. Then this one, then this one, then this one. They all snugged up evenly. So now it's time to torque it. And also, the pressure is being put at these forks. So once you get it snug, these springs will move once you start to use this, but these teeth will actually not be sticking out of the pressure plate anymore like it used to. So that's where the pressure was. Now take your wrench, and I would go maybe 10 or 15 foot-pounds on each bolt, just so it's kind of to make it even, and then do the 22. Just, you don't want it bending. A lot of people are having problems with that apparently. Okay, put it together. It's all torqued down. So now that you got this on, go ahead and wiggle your alignment tool out. Make sure all your tape and stuff come with it. So the whole reason you want your clutch disc aligned is because when you go to put your transmission in, if it doesn't line up, if you look, that's pretty center. If it doesn't line up, you're gonna have a really hard time putting your clutch together. I mean, your transmission on, because it's got your transmission input shaft has to go through here. If it goes through here and this isn't center, then you're not gonna be able to line up your transmission bolt up, and you're not gonna be able to bolt your transmission on. But if it's really off, you're not gonna even get your transmission to go in. You're gonna be like, oh well, the bolts are right here, the bolt holes are here, they're lining up, it's not going in. There's no way you're gonna be able to get it on then. So it's pretty important that you get it center. Not to mention, there's not that much play between the top and the bottom. There's like maybe this much overall to play with, so you gotta have this much from between the top and bottom, so you're not gonna be rubbing there. Now that you got this on, you're pretty much done with the clutch install. Go ahead and check this one more time. This should not move until you bleed your clutch pedal, or maybe if you use the tool you're supposed to use to press these teeth down. But basically this will self-adjust the first time you depress the clutch. Every single time you press the clutch, if it finds that it can go more, then it will. I hope this video helped you guys. Pay very close attention to your torque. I mean, you want to make sure that you're going in order and that's all even, because supposedly you can bend this, and hopefully I didn't damage it by torquing it too much.